So one of the things you guys should have read about with the Indus Valley is the two major cities that started civilization in the Indus Valley. Now, at the same time as the Egyptians, which you guys learned about last year, were moving forward, and the Romans and the Greeks and Mesopotamia, so at the same time all those things are happening, the Indus Valley is developing a civilization of its own. And so here we have the ruins of what remains of the Indus Valley civilization known as Mohenjo-Daro. And so think back to last year when you were talking about Egypt and when you were talking about Mesopotamia. What were some of the things that you think of when you think of Egypt? You think of things like maybe the pyramids or the Sphinx. You think of with Mesopotamia, what are some of the big things that you know about it that you remember from that unit? Maybe you remember ziggurats. Well, as you look here at the ruins of Mohenjo-Daro, you may notice there's no big pyramids, there's no big sphinx, there's no statues or things like that. This is not man-made up here. There's no big sculptures, and that's interesting to and unique to the Indus Valley. It's not they didn't have those same kind of worship for kings and things like that. They didn't have that. There's no evidence of that. So looking at these notes here, I always like to look at this picture because we can learn a lot about this. If you look at this notes, it says that Mohenjo-Daro is an archaeological site in Pakistan, is believed to be an important city in ancient Indus civilization in South Asia, built nearly 4,500 years ago. Now, as you look at this, it's kind of like what I said in just now regarding Egypt and Mesopotamia. By excavating this, we can see what life was like in the city. It lacked large palaces, temples, and monuments. There weren't those big pyramids and things like that. They were common in many ancient communities that were ruled by groups of priests or king. Since they're not found in Mohenjo-Daro, archaeologists do not think that the community was governed by priests or kings. So that's unique to the Indus Valley. But I want you guys to take a closer look at this picture. What do you notice? Looking at the walls here, looking at compare this to what you think of with Egypt and Mesopotamia. You may notice that these guys had some pretty advanced styles to them. If you notice, everything's in straight lines, straight patterns. Think about what it takes in order to develop a city in a grid like pattern like this. You have to plan, you have to have mathematics, things like that. It turns out the Indus Valley people were extremely advanced for their time. Nearly every home had a bathing area and a drainage ditch, meaning that these houses essentially had plumbing. We're talking about thousands of years ago. They had plumbing. Even if you go back just a couple hundred years ago to places like Great Britain. They some of the houses in Great Britain, their drainage ditch was throwing a bucket out the window, and here we have thousands of years before that in Mohenjo-Daro, we have. Evidence of plumbing in each home, a bathing area in each home. That shows that people were concerned with cleanliness. That's what we have in this area right here. This is actually would have been a bathing house, right? And so you see here these walls, it looks like they're in good shape. You may not even guess that these are thousands of years old, and that's because they use high quality bricks in their construction. And so it shows that these guys were pretty advanced, that they could develop their system of plumbing, that they have a grid like pattern to their cities, which required mathematics and planning, high quality materials to make things. This was a very advanced civilization in the Indus Valley area. All right, and so while it's still being uncovered, we're still trying to preserve the site, and they're working to maintain these buildings. And so in your reading, you're going to see that these guys actually end up coming to an end after about 1,000 years. We don't really know why. We still have never analyzed and been able to figure out what their language is. We don't have a translation for that. We don't know why, but eventually they will be removed. They won't. They'll kind of disappear from the historical record. And what's going to happen is a little later on, we're gonna have the arrival of these people called the Aryans, which you should have been reading about in in the document. And so with the Aryans, you're going to see that this group of people that moves in, they essentially take over the region known as the Indus Valley. And when they arrive, they're going to bring with them a lot of elements that we see impacting daily life today. They are going to be extremely influential in creating Hinduism and a lot of the Hindu beliefs, in particular the caste system, and reincarnation and the Vedas. And so we're going to learn a little bit more of that as you go through the lesson today. But this is just a little introduction to the Indus Valley people.